Everyone, and welcome to another live stream on Polkadot. Today we are talking about Web3 Summit and the hackathon that's happening alongside of it. And we have the three perfect guests to discuss that. We have Angie from the Web3 Foundation.
Hello.
Tommy, hello. And we have Sasha from Webzero. Webzero is an immersive full-service events agency that sort of specializes in hackathons and Web3 stuff, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then we have Tommy from OpenGovWatch. OpenGovWatch, among other things, monitors ongoing developments. They consult OpenGov participants, and they are known to put out a Treasury report or two every once in a while. Maybe you've seen or heard one. So Angie, I wanted to come to you first. What is Web3 Summit, and when is it happening?
So it's only 10 days away. It's very, very soon. We're so excited. Web3 Summit, some folks might be familiar with it. It's been about 5 or 6 years since we did the last one. And it was kind of the original Web3 event, if you like. It was my first ever conference in Web3. So I have like really fond memories of it. And I'm really excited to actually be involved this time as an organizer and a participant. So in terms of Web3 Summit, what can you expect? So it's an immersive experience that covers the full spectrum of Web3 landscape, from foundational technologies to emerging innovations. We have two stages of talks and firesides with keynotes from folks like Richard Stallman, Phil Zimmerman, who invented PGP, Gav Wood, of course, Juan Benet, Harry Halpin, just like a really incredible lineup of folks. So we're super stoked about that. And one of the things that we thought was really important, so, Web3 Summit at its heart is a builders conference, and we wanted to make sure that people could really get their hands on stuff, build, get like really in the weeds. So obviously we're really excited to be partnering with the amazing Webzero folks. We also have technical workshops every single day. So they run in a full track throughout the conference as well. And then there's the unconference space, right? So if you just have a great idea while you're there and you want to grab someone, you're like, I want to build this interop, like DApp, who do I go and talk to? You just go grab your people, you find your tribe, and you go to the unconference space, and you can build together, you can teach people, you can really get involved. So just like tons of stuff going on. Obviously, I don't want to give everything away, because I feel like you have to get like the full experience. Right. But yeah, it's going to be a really interactive, dynamic, and exciting event. So we're super stoked.
Nice. And it's happening in Berlin, August 19th and 20th. So just 19th, like 10 days from now.
And 21st. So it's
and the 21st. Okay. Yeah. Got it. So it sounds like it's all about networking, education, learning, expanding your horizons. If you're in Web 2, you want to learn about Web 3, and building as well. Building
is really at the heart of the event. So yeah, coming, and we don't look at it as a passive event, right? It's kind of like, think of Burning Man, right? It's that everyone is bringing something to the table. It's kind of like the developers Burning Man,
Okay, cool. And you mentioned that there was a bit of a hiatus, I think, in the last couple of years. Like, why is it coming back now?
So, I mean, dang that pandemic, right? It kind of ruined a lot of things for a lot of us. And that's really what stopped Web3 Summit continuing. I believe it would have continued on if that hadn't have happened. And then sometimes these things kind of, different priorities take place. It's coming back this year. We think from the Web3 Foundation perspective, it's such an important time. There's been so much change, so much development, and there's a lot of great Web3 events, but there's not a lot of amazing Web3 events for developers and researchers specifically. And that's really like the group that we're talking to here, specifically chain agnostic events, right? Web3 Summit is not like, is not focused on one particular project, one particular chain. It's really about bringing everyone together and kind of exploring interoperability and how we can kind of all collaborate for a decentralized future.
Got it. And before we go on to Sasha and Tommy, I just wanted to ask, like, how would Web3 Summit differ from, like, say, Polkadot Decoded?
That's a great question. Yeah. Well, I mean, the kind of the trick is in the name, right? Polkadot Decoded is focused on Polkadot, whereas Web3 Summit, you've got representatives from the Ethereum community, from Solana, from Polkadot, from Gnosis, just from everywhere. So you know, it's not really focused on one thing specifically. We're kind of looking at the higher level stuff. How do we work together? How do we build together? Yeah. So really, that's the key difference, is that we're not focused on Polkadot specifically. We're focused on everything and how we all build and work together.
Nice. And I will share the link to the agenda and so on in the chat later in this discussion.
Awesome.
So I want to come to you now, Sasha. You're at Webzero. Well, first of all, why don't you tell us what Webzero is and what you do there?
Yeah, so Webzero is, simply put, a events agency that's doing developer relations and that cares a lot about building culture around building in Web3. And I weigh those words because, similar to what Angie is describing, the philosophy behind the Web3 Summit, it's really bringing together all of Web3 under the same roof. You know, we're all kind of doing similar really cool things in our respective corners, whether that's Solana ecosystem, Cardano is doing amazing work in their corners, et cetera. Webzero is really just trying to bring all these builders together. So we started doing block spaces. These are a series of our immersive events that bring together builders at major Web3 conferences, starting with Denver at Freight Denver, and then we continued on the conference track with Austin, and most recently in Brussels. So for those that maybe you've been to these events, you might have come to our events there called the Block Space. And that's our goal, right? Our goal is to build culture around creating and innovating in Web3.
Yeah, you mentioned EthCC and some of the side events you put on there, which got a lot of attention, and you know, people are talking about them. Can you just give can you share one or two highlights that stood out to you from Brussels?
My favorite highlight was we had a lightning demo session on the Polkadot Day we hosted on Tuesday. And that was really a program I put together, bringing together builders in the Polkadot ecosystem specifically, really trying to bridge the gap of, like, there's not enough, like, what's going on the cutting edge of what's being built in Polkadot. There's a lot of, like, here's a really great announcement with, like, these enterprise plays and stuff like that. I really want to bring back the kind of grassroots builder culture around Polkadot. And so my favorite day was when we had, like, Basti present what the Parity team's decisions were around, for example, the metadata issue with the Ledger app. And that was really cool because we were just in a room with a bunch of developers asking questions. He was not the only one. We also had some prominent Polkadot builders, Kukabi, for example, who's been building some amazing things. He's the author of the, have you ever seen that 3D image of the visualization of the parachain blocks?
Yes. And was he also one of the DV recipients?
I don't know if he received, but he's much more receiving funds directly from the community, I believe. But that's just to name a few. We had that day was really fun for me because it's really kind of showing that there is really, really great stuff being built on Polkadot. There's also a lot of builders that aren't necessarily Polkadot native that are really curious about what this cutting edge stuff is. So we're just trying to create a platform for those devs and builders.
I just wanted to correct myself. I said DV recipient. I meant DV, Decentralized Voices, where he was voting at OpenGov and so on, but I could be thinking of someone else. Anyway, you said you kind of want to get back to the grassroots building effort. Can you just touch on that or double click on that a bit?
Yeah, I guess, when all of this started, the early days of Ethereum, it was just a playground for cool ideas, innovate with cryptography, innovate with forking Bitcoin and doing this thing, innovate with, forking Ethereum then and maybe doing this. And like this culture of just building, trying things out, building and breaking things is really, like, for me, the fabric of where we are, like how we got to the place today where we are in Web3. And that's what I mean, like bringing it back to those grassroots, organic connections between builders, maybe someone that has like a really strong background in cryptography, talking with someone that has a really strong background in networking, and they just get together. And our thesis and our kind of North Light at Webzero is you put people together in the room and things happen. So that's kind of what we're doing, and we're seeing some interesting things come out. For instance, and after Austin, we had a couple winners from the hackathon that so I led the sponsorship of Polkadot's presence at the conference, and we got some builders now continuing to build with us. We got builders that came from Denver that come back to Austin at our block spaces. So we're trying to see where that can take us. So with Web3 Summit around the corner, I'm very, very excited, because for the first time, it's not just doing an event around one community. We're bringing together everyone. We're bringing together Solana developers. I've got teams that are applying from Cardano, dev shops from all around the world that are going to come to this hackathon with one thing in mind only, which is breaking down for me, it's breaking down the tribalism in Web3, but for builders, it's ship something that's open source and that's common good, i.e. public good that can be useful and benefit Web3 as a whole.
Yeah. That's great, and I want to. We'll come to the details of the hackathon and it being chain agnostic and so on. But I thought it was interesting you mentioned but the early days of Ethereum and hacking and just coding, and it's pretty fitting that Web3 Summit's in Berlin, I think. Does anyone want to just speak on Berlin and what it means for Web3 and like just some of the history? Like just an open question to any three of you. Otherwise, we can move on. Come on, someone take this one.
I mean, I can take this one. It's simple. Like if you Google, if you go in Google Maps and you Google Ethereum launch, you'll find there's a specific location in Berlin in 2015. There's pictures of Jutta, Gav, Vitalik's in there, Vlad Zamfir, I believe, is in there. And that's where they launched Ethereum. The first few blocks of Ethereum were created there. Launched in an office somewhere there. Coordinated with a lot of devs probably around the world, but Ethereum is home to a lot of the roots of Web3, and that goes that really starts in the Bitcoin days in 2014. A huge community already growing there. Berlin is really a hub for Web3, and that goes beyond the Ethereum. We've got a lot of strong builders in Cardano and Polkadot. I mean, Parity's office is here too. We've got people from Solana, a very strong presence here. So it's become this kind of haven for, I don't know, cypherpunk goes a little bit more corporate Web3, but it's fun. It's good.
It's something about the vibe of Berlin too, this like underground, music, underground scene. It seems to mesh well with Web3. I want to come to the hackathon now. But before I do, I just want to ask our audience, if you have any questions for Tommy, Angie, or Sasha, feel free to add them here on the chat. We can see the chat, and we'll save some time at the end to answer these questions in real time. All right, so Sasha, tell us about this 72-hour chain agnostic hackathon that Webzero is putting on.
So it's a chain agnostic hackathon. That means that we're okay. So to put it this way, we care a lot about empowering builders and not creating a hackathon whereby it's sponsors that say, oh, we're going to have this track and then we're going to have a bounty for this specific vertical. The problems with these kinds of models is it goes against the grain of really empowering builders and not creating competition between partners and sponsors. So what we're doing is simple. It's like there's a very open track. We have a very curated, specialized judging panel that we're putting together. And at the end of the 72 hours, by the way, it's 3 days. It's more technically correct to say 3 days, because if you think about the hours, it's actually from 10 a.m. to then we're going to close off in the evening of that day, but people won't be hacking past 1 p.m. on the Wednesday. But what I'm hoping to see is a bunch of really great innovations that are moving the mark on common good products ready to launch. So what you can expect is a really rich diversity of builders in the room with specific problems that they care about solving. I'm talking to people that are very passionate about UX and UI problems, building out libraries to solve this problem. In Polkadot right now, that's Pappy. So the Pappy team is actually going to come and hack at the hackathon. And for other people, you can think of like a Solana dev team there. That's probably going to be really cool to be sharing ideas in the same room with people from like Cardano maybe, and maybe they team up. Like I would love to see that. I would love to see teams team up to really, the issue is that I'm seeing is there's really good ideas that could be launched on Polkadot, really good ideas that could be launched on Cardano, etc. But what if we can find the middle ground and see that the ideas on Polkadot probably can really benefit the ideas in Cardano, right? The people in Cardano, I know that they're looking at OpenGov with a very keen eye, because they're going to be launching their OpenGov in the next 6 to 8 months. So this is what we're doing, right? We're bringing people together, and we're going to see what happens. So I'm very stoked about that.
Nice. Well, we wish them luck, Cardano, in figuring out OpenGov. Hopefully they can learn some lessons from us. I actually want to take just a step back really quick, because maybe some of the viewers aren't even really familiar with what a hackathon is. So I mean, it's kind of in the name, it's hackers or coders or builders getting together and doing some sort of competition. But can you just take us back a second and explain exactly what is a hackathon and how it works?
Yeah, I mean, a hackathon, the roots of a hackathon really dates back to the early days of the web. I mean, the early days of big companies innovating in the 90s. And for instance, I mean, it goes back to IBM days, probably, and Apple days. I think Apple was pioneers in creating. They would launch some software, and then they would want other people to build with it. Apple's model is really we need more applications with our basic operating system. That's how they grew. So how did they get there? Well, they would create events called hackathons, called whatever you used to call them back in the day, where the goal would be bring together developers that could try this new tech stack out and ship something at the end. So it's probably just a proof of concept after a 3-day period. It's not a lot of time you have in 3 days, but the outcome would be you would find some really, really neat projects that then these companies would want to fund and actually launch as full products. So why do I say this? Is because there's a misconception maybe that hackathons are unique to Web3. Not at all, right? It is really just this kind of it's an event where you're bringing developers in the room. So it's a really good opportunity for new developers or even new people that are interested in building something to get involved. You could be a product person that doesn't really know how to code, and in your 3-day hackathon, learn so much, contribute a lot, because developers aren't all that good at pitching their products. So we want diversity in teams, so it's open for people to learn and see what they can build in 3 days. So that's really
So we actually have an audience question from Daniel. He says, as a non-developer, can I participate in this hackathon? And how is this hackathon different? I think that's a good sort of segue to go over to Tommy or Alice and Bob. But Sasha, maybe you can just answer that in 30 seconds. You said non-developers can participate. What can they do exactly? And then we'll come over to you, Tommy.
Yeah, so we're meticulously going through applications to ensure that there's a diverse builder group, and we also have a team matching opportunity for people that are looking for a team or are looking for members to join their team. For instance, you can have a strong team with just a visionary person that knows that they want to really, for example, and I would love to hear Tommy's ideas on things that we'll go into that next, but things that we want to see built. For instance, there's someone that has a really good vision, but they don't know how to code. Well, they're probably still a really, really important asset to that team. And then their role would be to find the developers or to find what resources they need during the hackathon to ship their idea. And so these roles are important. It's true that I do hear people saying, oh, I don't have a GitHub account. I don't feel like I'm maybe a right fit for this hackathon. But chances that if you have a good background in product, if you've built stuff before, if you are just curious and you have a really good idea, just apply. Just apply, because our job at Webzero is also to make sure that we're accepting a diverse group of people, and you would really help make that diversity as best as possible.
Perfect. We're going to come to Tommy. But real quick, Sasha, how can people apply? Where do they find you?
Go to symmetry.theblockspace.net. And there's all the information about the hackathon there. We can drop a link in the chat. Symmetry.theblockspace.net has all the information there.
Okay, we'll drop that link here in a second. So, Tommy, you're a man of many talents. You're not a developer per se, but you have a background in coding, if I understand things correctly.
Yeah, I was a software developer for 7 years.
Okay.
Sort of senior, I would say.
Nice. And so you're heading to Web3 Summit. You are going to participate in the hackathon. What are you looking forward to, or what are you looking to get out of it?
Yeah, I'm gonna have 2 heads during the event. I'm gonna be presenting on is it possible to have network constitutions, and what are the conditions, and then of course the hackathon. Yeah, I have to say I was never part of a hackathon, and I always find it interesting, and I'm really curious to be there for the first time in my life. And for so many years, I've been thinking about all the great things that I would like to see in Web3 emerge. But the space we're in Polkadot, there is a lot of it's very I would say infrastructure heavy. A lot of great stuff is being built in terms of infrastructure, file storage, off-chain computation, gaming, robonomics, then of course DeFi, a lot of great products. But for me, Web3 is this idea of using blockchain technology, using the Internet of Value to actually contribute value to society and to the real world economy. And so for me, Web3 is a lot about that, basically circling back from this invention of crypto and blockchain that is sort of its separate space, and now integrating it back into the real world and actually delivering value. Because financialized products are good in its own domain, it's relevant, but I think we can do much more. And I think we will see that blockchain, Web3 crypto is actually successful once we have apps on our phones that are tapping into Web3 technology, and we might not even be aware that this is the case. And so what I would like to see in a hackathon like this is, I don't know, building very simple apps that tap into the stuff we already have. So for example, I was hearing of this example recently from the Apelon hackathon or competition, where people basically build WeTransfer, so a file transfer service where I can just upload a file and then I can send a link to my friend. Creatives often use this, or anyone who is sharing large files like videos, creatives, and so on, or other kinds. And they just built it with Web3 primitives. They built this with Crust Network. They built this with the stuff that is available on Polkadot. And you can upload a file and send it. And it's basically Web3 transfer. And I think you could do so many interesting stuff when you have a database. So blockchain is much more than that, but it is also a database where you can just store stuff and have it available from anywhere on the planet. So treating it as a database where you can just drop data and then pick it up somewhere else. And I don't know, have an app where you, I don't know, upload your pictures and then like send it to a friend, or it's sort of you drop a QR code somewhere and then it shows you something. So I don't know. I'm really looking to see some very basic things happen and tap into all the stuff that is being built. Like, I don't know, even combining different things, having a prediction market that is connected to a robot, or smart contracts controlling robots, or sort of those things, like combining all the stuff that is there and already available.
Nice. And so a lot to unpack there, but first off, are you already part of a team, or are you kind of like entering the hackathon as a solo member and then you'll be like assigned to a team?
Yeah, maybe Sasha wants to clarify the different roles that are part of the hackathon first, and then.
Yeah, well, I will say, Tommy, I would love to see you lead and ship a product as a result of the hackathon. You have really great ideas. I've seen you very, very active in the community. I think you're perfect you've got an overview of like the things that we need. Like you're saying, they're and oftentimes very basic things, but they can go a long way. And also in the common good spirit, there's a lot of basic primitives that are still lacking. So that's it's really great to have you in the room. If it's going to be hacking, that's like so much better. I'm very stoked. The different roles at the hackathon. I mean, also Webzero, we have our DevRel team that's going to be on the ground as a facilitators for impromptu questions that come up. Maybe we're gonna have a lot of questions on what cryptography to use, and there we're gonna have experts in specific areas to be able to do like a bar camp style. Okay, what are the common questions on this topic? So you can imagine the hacker space is just gonna be a lot of people just in front of their computers working on their things, but we'll also have spaces for like impromptu. Here's a question that we're getting a lot. Why don't we do a session about it there? So expect like a lot of mentors, people that are experts in specific fields. Expect a lot of helping hands, people that are just there to encourage people and make sure that questions are being asked. And then hackers. I mean, it's all about hackers, right? So I'm telling everyone, like, forget about like your role as XYZ. Just apply to hack. Just apply to hack. That's all That's all it's going to be about. We're there to just facilitate and make sure that the best ideas make it to demo day.
Got it. And Tommy was mentioning that he'd like to see more apps built on blockchain, and I think we all would love to see that. So is the format is there like a particular prompt that you give to the participants of the hackathon? Like, we'd like to see an end user app, or we'd like to see infrastructure, or is it kind of just more open and people can come with their ideas? How does that work?
Yeah, definitely the latter, right? It's much more open than in fact, it is open. It's not comparable to having tracks at all, right? It's open insofar as whatever you can fit into something that hits the mark on common good, public good, and that is beneficial to users of Web3. I go and so far as saying that benefits the web in general, because we'll have a lot of Web2 developers that don't really know Web3, but maybe they can be building some really neat tools that can then be used for other people. But here's the thing, though, Evan, it's all open source. So so that's also the criteria. It has to be open source, because after the hackathon, that's when things get exciting. Because after the hackathon, we're going to identify some of the top products, and we'll be working with the Web3 Foundation, with other partners that we're amassing here that are going to be helping just give a little incentive to hackers as part of the prize pool. Well, we're going to be working with them after to make sure that we're going to ship the best ideas to production. And that's where Webzero comes in to help do that. Yeah.
Nice.
So
let's talk
it's
about
public good and open source, very open. Yeah.
Let's talk about the prize. What is the prize the teams are competing for?
So yeah, I want to double click that we're really trying to do things differently than your traditional hackathon. Your traditional hackathon probably has tracks. It's highlighting sponsors in a way that kind of it's really in a way that's like competing against developer attention. We're trying to break that mold, and in order to get there, we need to be very careful about how we're mapping prize pool money to what it means for our partners. And so there's going to be one pot of funds that's basically divided by $5,000, where every winning slot, every winning seat is 5K, right? So the prize for a winning team is 5K plus the support after the hackathon. So there's no hierarchy in prize ranking. There's no such thing as first prize, second place, third place with different denominations. It's going to be the same across the board, and the amount of winning seats depends on how big this pot of funds is going to grow. And so over the next week, we're going to be making some updates on who's supporting us. It's very much in the spirit of open source and common good. So we're doing a lot of work aligning with the right partners to be aligned with that vision. The vision really is the hackathon itself is a playground to get the best ideas, but the hackathon for actually shipping these ideas to production starts the day that we announce all the winners. And that's going to be really exciting.
And for a first-time participant like Tommy, what does he need to bring to the hackathon? Like he shows up on day one, what should he have in his backpack?
Do you want the full list of my recommendation or the bare necessities?
Tommy, what do you want to hear?
Maybe just from experience, like what's typical.
So
I mean, for example, I saw from a different hackathon that people are bringing their sleeping bags.
There you go. So bare necessities, you need a laptop and a charger. Okay, you can show. I mean, we do in Germany have rules about being clothed. So being a pair of clothes, because otherwise you get arrested in this country. But bare necessity, you need a laptop and a charger, ideally. But hopefully there'll be a charger there for you if you don't have it. But now, if you go into the list of the nice to haves. Hygiene, right? Hygiene is important. So, bring your own kit of whatever, brush your teeth and whatnot. Stinky hackers, I mean, we get that a lot, but it's okay because you're there for 3 days, but thinking about hygiene is nice. You probably want to go there with maybe an idea already, right? You probably want to go there like somewhat of an idea what you want to build. And by the way, we encourage people to start working on them. You're just not allowed to commit code until 10 a.m. On the day that we're launching the hackathon. Otherwise, you're going to be disqualified, or that submission or that code won't be used. What else to bring? Bring your hacker spirit. Go there with enthusiasm. Go there with like a lust to learn. A lust to be open-minded. Maybe meet new people and change the way you're thinking about a particular problem space. Sleeping arrangements. So if you do have accommodation, great. Otherwise, we are opening some, like we'll have an area where people can bring their own sleeping bags. And that's, again, a nice to have. I've seen hackathons where people are just like sleeping on the chair like this, like for, power nap. People are really good at power napping. They don't need a sleeping bag, but it's a nice to have. A tent would be an even more nice to have because maybe you can have more privacy if you want to set up your tent. But guys, this isn't a festival. This isn't, Hull or.
It's not the Hunger Games. It's
right? So
collaborative,
it's like,
right? Yeah.
Well, no, in the sense that, like, again, bare necessities. Just bring your laptop and show up and focus on delivering. On demo day, you can set up a tent. You can have like a little snack kit, whatever. But on that note, Webzero is taking care of you guys. You'll have everything you need to be comfortable and yeah, to empower you to whatever, do it, however you want to spend your time there.
So
It's
how do people find teams? Like, how does this work? Does everyone just show up and then they select?
Yes. Yeah. So we have some people that are happy to hack solo. Some people are looking for team members to join their existing team. So these are specific skills that we asked in the form. So if you already done the sign up form, you're familiar with this. Those that haven't done the sign up form, by the way, call to action, sign up, because we're sending on a rolling basis acceptance emails. But the people that are saying, hey, we're looking for a specific skill set, and also the other people that are saying, I'm alone and I'm looking to join a team. Well, on the day of, come to registration and you'll have more information about our team formation kind of activity, where we'll have a good bird's eye view on who's looking for what, and Webzero is going to be there, our DevRel team is going to be there, facilitating, connecting ideas or team ideas with people that might want to join that team. So yeah, be there. We're doing this all in person. A big part is to capitalize off the authenticity of human connections. So none of the fill out a form and blah, blah, blah. Just show up and we'll take it from there.
And you mentioned that one of the greatest things that you receive from attending is mentorship and obviously the prize, the $5,000 prize. But I also hear that there are usually VCs mulling around or in attendance, or there'll definitely be some VCs at Web3 Summit. So just another reason, if you are a developer, a coder, or builder, to participate in the hackathon. Tommy, I wanted to hand it over to you. I think you have a question.
Yeah, I was just had a follow-up question for Sasha, but you're changing topic right now, so I don't want to interrupt you.
No, let's go. We can go back. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I'm wondering, when I was going to university, people were assigned to groups, and then you had some people that were working really hard, and other people were more like watching the project unfold. How is this different? Because I guess people are voluntarily coming, so they're much more keen to actually work and grind. But can you share a little bit from this?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. I think what you just said starts to answer that question. There's a natural selection of like the people that are gonna maybe slack around from those that are really serious by definition of the event, right? By definition, people are showing up, they're taking time out of their weeks. By the way, these are like people that have full-time jobs and they could be doing other things on their Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, and they're gonna show up and work on whatever ideas that they have that they want to be presenting on demo day. So there's a natural selection of sorts, right? So Tommy, I wouldn't be too worried if you're on a team where like you feel like you're the only one doing all the work. I would be very, very surprised if that's going to happen. And if it does happen, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, well, maybe that's just not the right team, and then I'll help you find maybe another developer that can actually help ship whatever it is you want to ship. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. Typically at hackathons, the spirit is like everyone is sharing the same spirit, right? You'll see at day 3, just before demo day, everyone's going to be like so focused and like nobody talking to anybody, and that's what we see at these hackathons. It's true if it's your first time, maybe that's going to be a fun experience for you to see that in real life.
I want to come.
Can I have one last question? Because it's the Web3 Summit, and so there's the hackathon, but there's also going the main event. So I'm having FOMO of missing some like talks or presentations. So how do you deal with this? Like,
that's
do
a great
people
question.
take out time and visit events, or is it like full focus all the time?
Yeah, So in our experience with Webzero, we do hackathons where we participate at events where you're always competing with the schedule. And that's really not fun for hackers too, because they want to be part of the hackathon, but they also want to go to all the really interesting talks. So how do you fix this problem? Well, what we're doing for the Web3 Summit hackathon, the block-based symmetry hackathon, as we call it, is that there's no official program throughout the entire hackathon ground, like with stages and stuff. Because imagine if we put a program for the hackers and for the main event, it's like, well, people are competing or to go and see Richard Stallman versus a workshop on how to launch parachains with Polkadot SDK. We don't want that to happen. We want hackers to feel like they can go to the talks, but they can come back and they have a safe space to continue working on their ideas. Now, does that mean that there's not going to be any technical talks or anything happening in the hacker grounds? No. Well, because we're creating a space where there's going to be whiteboards, there's going to be little hubs where people can, get together around the table. We'll brainstorm, basically get together, flock around, and perhaps, for example, you have the team at Pappy is going to do an impromptu discussion, presentation about how to use Pappy for another team that's maybe wanting to use Pappy. I'm foreseeing that there's going to be a lot of collaboration between teams in a way that they'd be like, oh, can you help me maybe with this thing? Can you help me maybe with this thing? And then we're going to have these impromptu kind of technical discussions that could be kind of like a bar camp style thing where we're going to be facilitating these discussions. So we don't want people to be competing with a main event talks. Therefore, we're having a very loose, open format for
got it.
Yeah, for information exchanging, learning exchanging. Because ultimately, what is it at the end of the day to have a workshop during a hackathon? First of all, it seems like it's a really great idea, but in reality, it's oftentimes a distraction. People are focused on their own thing. And then the outcome of that is, well, the workshop itself, the hackers will probably just revisit that content later. So we don't want to do anything that distracts hackers during the hackathon. And there's already a lot of distractions as it is with the amazing lineup Angie and her team have put together.
Great. And for those that want to participate, how can they sign up? We've dropped the link in the chat. When is the deadline to sign up?
So we're going to be announcing information on deadlines and dates and more things to know about the tracks and stuff like that over the next week. But call to action, just sign up now. We're going through applications on a rolling basis, so please sign up and you should be good. Real quick, if you do get accepted, hackers get a free access to the main event, the Web3 Summit lineup. They also are fed and board if they want to during the 3 days, as well as hackers can expect some little fun events that we will be hosting for them. The space is open 24/7. So in the night, Daniel is organizing some fun little activities.
Cool. So everyone, you have the link in the chat to sign up for the hackathon. And I want to come back to Angie on Web3 Summit. I think a lot of people have now joined the live stream that weren't here in the beginning. So where can people learn about Web3 Summit? Web3summit.com is a good place to start, I take it, or follow you guys on Twitter as well at Web3 Summit.
Exactly.
Do you kind of want to just go over it quickly again, because we have a lot of new people watching now?
Sure, absolutely. So I think one of the analogies I used earlier was, Web3 Summit is kind of like, a developer and researcher's Burning Man, right? So if you're attending Web3 Summit, we want you to actively participate, right? You're not just there to sit in a room and listen to talks passively. The idea is that you come, you bring your ideas. I love what Sasha said about bringing the hacker spirit. We have the unconference space. You can just roll up there on the day and say, you know what, I really want to talk about snarks, and I want to get into the weeds on cryptography, or maybe you're a policy person and you're like, I'm really stoked about Mica. I want to talk to my other people about that. Doesn't matter what it is. Everyone has the opportunity at Web3 Summit to kind of actively participate in some way, whether it's the hackathon, whether it's workshops, whether it's the unconference space, whether it's even in the talks, right? Asking great questions, kind of like, diving deeper into what the speakers have said. So yeah, we're really excited to obviously welcome you all in 10 short days. But yeah, come, bring that hacker spirit, get involved. It's your event. This is very much kind of community curated, and we want you to like get the most out of it you possibly can.
And huge props to you and the team for getting this lineup together. I mean, it's amazing. If you just scroll through here and see some of the networks that are represented, some of the companies, some of the names, some of the OGs, it's really incredible, this agenda you put together.
Thank you.
Any particular talks that you're excited about?
Obviously, I am completely like not biased because I'm so excited for everyone. I would say that Wasim Malsindi is doing a talk, I think on day 2, called The Chainmail Gaze, and he writes a lot on the kind of philosophy behind technology and the cultures that emerge from technologies. And I've been reading his writing for a long time, so I'm really, really excited to hear him speak in person. Juan Benet used to be my boss. So I'm like really stoked. I used to work in the kind of Protocol Labs Filecoin IPFS ecosystem. So I'm excited to hear kind of what his update is from 5 years ago, like what is Web3 now. I think that'll be great. Richard Stallman, obviously, come on. Phil Zimmerman. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. There's a lot, like some good stuff on gaming as well. Like it's a really like strong kind of emerging area. So yeah, I'm really, I don't know, it's just like, I'm just excited. I'm lucky I'm kind of stationed in the main room, so I get to like just sit and soak a lot of stuff up. But yeah, I just can't wait. It's been a long time coming. So yeah, just can't wait for all of it, really.
I mean, I just want to add, like, it's such an amazing job you guys did to put this lineup together. It's really bridging the gap in our space right now, where I think a lot of people forget where all of this research and thought leadership around these topics come from. And you're hitting the nail on the head with the speakers that are coming to represent that voice. I think it's excellent. I would also go further and say to those that these names are new, you're tuning in from the Polkadot ecosystem, and for example, you don't know who Jaron Lanier is. Check out Jaron Lanier. Like, he is an OG in the space, not in this space, by the way, in the internet, in the birth of the internet, and how it creates a lot of tension with this Web2 world that is very megapoly oriented. Check these lineups out because there's a lot to learn from, guys. It's really cool.
Right, and we're here on the ticketing page, and it's $3.99 for 3 days. I mean, that is extremely reasonably priced when you consider what you're getting, the people you're meeting, the talks you're listening to, the networking. So encourage everyone to go get a ticket now before it sells out. Will I be able to tease out a discount code from you, Angie, for our viewers, or no? Is that something? Can we give a little special prize? Yeah.
I was like try to do one really quickly for So if you use the code POCA VIP, you'll get 25% off until the end of day Monday. So you've got the weekend to go through the program, get super excited, and then get tickets. So it's POCA VIP, POLKA VIP, and that's 25% off tickets until end of day Monday.
Wow. So I'm just going to type it in here for those that are watching. It's Polka VIP like that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I've also dropped it in the chat, and that's very generous of you and the foundation to offer that 25% to our viewers. And I also mentioned if you participate in the hackathon, Sasha, you said you also get free attendance to Web3 Summit. All right, I think we're kind of coming up on time.
And it's the same location. By the way, Hackathon is happening in the same place. A few words on like the location itself. Angie, I don't know if you want to say a few words about this, but the Funkhaus Berlin is an iconic venue for all sorts of things and events, and it's actually pretty unique to have the Web3 community brought together there.
Yeah, it's
after parties.
Hilariously, it definitely is a place where a lot of parties happen. I remember Ableton had an event there years ago as well, and I was like, unbelievable. So the acoustics are stunning. It has an amazing history. We'll be sharing that with folks when they come to Summit as well, just so you can dive in. Like, the architecture is wild. Like, it's such a fun space to organize an event in, because there's all these nooks and crannies. So, we've got art installations popping up and things like that. We've got wellness sessions in these like gorgeous rooms. So yeah, we're really, really excited about that. And the main stage room, I could just sit there for days. It's so beautiful. So yeah, it's a stunning space. And Berlin, just what a city as well, right? If you're coming, come for a few extra days. Like, it's something
for sure. Berlin is also so nice this time of year. I mean, it is a really nice time to come. It's nice and warm. It's a lot of things to do. A lot of things happening all the time in Berlin. So yeah, that's something you need to pack too, Tommy. Pack your party battery if you're
your rave outfit.
Pack your rave outfit for after the hackathon.
Nice. And I'm pronouncing the venue as Funkhaus as well, but I'm hearing from Tommy that a native German speaker, that might not be the correct pronunciation.
Yeah,
How do you say
it? It's extremely funny. Funkhaus means to transmit. So because it's like I guess it was like where they broadcasted radio programs. So it's broadcast house basically.
Oh, okay.
But Funkhaus makes it much better.
Yeah. Let's keep it Funkhaus. I just want to give everyone one last moment for your closing thoughts before we wrap things up. Why don't we start with Sasha?
Well, closing thoughts. I'm very excited to see some of you guys at Web3 Summit and to be welcoming you on registration day to our hackathon. I wanted to add one more thing, which is for those that are building on Polkadot, for those that are attending, or for those that maybe have really cool ideas that you want to see built as a result of this hackathon. If you go on the Polkadot forum post, I've actually started a discussion where I'm inviting and enticing people to just share their ideas. So that's something that Tommy and I have been talking about with the head ambassadors, really bringing together the builder spirit with more open discussions on the forum and in the ecosystem in general, where it's a very clear call to action. There's some really great ideas that people might have. Use that forum post to share those ideas, and perhaps that then can be picked up for people working on some ideas at the hackathon. So I'm actually doing this with all the ecosystems. I've got some engagement with Cosmos, Agoric, and Starknet. And again, but for you guys, think, what's something that could be a public good and useful for our community? Shoot.
I've got a plug for Web3 Summit as well. I know a lot of the decentralized futures recipients will be in attendance. And I get asked a lot of questions about DF or how do you receive a grant from Web3 Foundation. So if you are curious about the Polkadot ecosystem, or just Web3 in general, of course, but the Polkadot ecosystem, and you have an idea, you want to build something, you're looking for a grant, go to Web3 Summit, meet the people that have received grants or that are participating in decentralized futures. I would say that's a really good place to start. So don't DM me anymore, please. Just attend Web3 Summit. Closing thoughts, Angie or Tommy?
Sure. And also the grants team from Web3 Foundation will be there as well. They'll be really happy to answer any questions that you have. In fact, I think almost all the Web3 Foundation team will be there. So I'll be there. I can direct you to the right people if you have questions around anything like that, any funding, any tech questions as well. I can't wait to see you all. It's going to be an amazing 3 days. I think we're going to get so much done. Going to meet lots of great people. Have a boogie. But yeah, no, I'm honestly so stoked. Thank you so much to everyone here as well for participating and kind of helping us get to this stage. And I just, like I said, super excited. Bring your A game. Let's build some cool shit.
Yeah, I would say it's really exciting to see my first hackathon. Maybe I pack my notebook and then I just listen to presentations while I do something on the notebook. I don't know. I'm curious to learn. I've never really learned coding smart contracts, so this is something that I could really look into. I've done a little bit with general Polkadot stuff, and I think maybe learning Solidity or something is something that is also very universal. So it's also chain agnostic, in a way. And so I don't know. This whole conversation got me hyped.
Cool. Well, then we have been successful in our live stream. We wanted to build some hype and and
I
share
have-
all the amazing things that are happening. Go ahead, Sasha.
I have one question for you, Evan, and actually for the rest of the people
Yeah.
on this call, and also for everyone else that's tuning in right now. Do you guys have merch that, like, for example, we go to a lot of conferences in Web3, some merch that you never really wear, that's been piling up in the back of your closet? Maybe your partner is yelling at you every time you come back from a conference, and you're like,
Yes.
sorry, babe.
Yes. I have a
I just
drawer
really like this
dedicated to that,
t-shirt.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you're like, I like this t-shirt, but 6 months later, you still never wear that
I wear it,
t-shirt.
though.
I have to stop
Do
saying
that.
yes to the t-shirts.
Yeah.
So we will be having a special booth at in the Hacker Grounds where we're inviting some artists that are going to be upcycling old merch. So bring your merch that you want to trash, bring it to the Web3 Summit if you're coming in person, because we'll have a booth where people will just be able to maybe make a bag out of a t-shirt. Maybe we'll have also print screening, upcycling merch. We're going to be doing that. So bring your old merch.
I absolutely love that idea. That's great. And I've even thought like future proposals for events, like maybe people should just take out a budget for merch. I don't know. We're just saturated with too much merch. So
I completely agree.
maybe something to think about for 2025. But I love the upcycling idea. Well, hey, look, thanks so much for joining. It was really great. Good luck with the hackathon. Good luck with the summit. Tommy, good luck with your talk at Web3 Summit. And let's do it again sometime soon. This was great.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Evan.
All right, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.